Welcome, friends, to the Beaver Dam. We're here with our good friend Swag Frog, who has recently started streaming Swago. Swag Frog, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm alive, as I can hope for. So
Sometimes
tell
that's
me,
the best you can hope for.
honestly, yeah, seriously. So tell me a bit about your channel. What are you kind of pushing towards with your channel?
So my channel started off with, first and foremost, my little gimmick called Minute Mods, where I take minute-long shorts and I just, do that for individual characters, and then I go through teams and just show how to mod them and why to mod them. And then I've sort of expanded into teaching people how to efficiently farm as well and streaming Grand Arena. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and speaking of efficiently farming, that's kind of what we're talking about today. We're talking about the top 5 best farms in the Legendary Guide to get you off the ground and running. We've had a couple people, among our members and that kind of thing, request this type of video, and so it's going to be a fun time. Figured we'd pull in Swag since he's been, talking about this himself quite a bit, so going through this journey guide, there's a lot to farm. There's, 110 characters. Okay, not really, but there's a lot of characters in here at this point. And so knowing which ones to farm can be kind of rough overall. And so we put together a top 5 list. I do want to go through a couple honorable mentions. Maybe Swag, you have a couple honorable mentions for yourself. But if you're looking for a fun early farm, I do suggest the Best Carmando event and the CLS event just as solo farms, just because their events are really fun. The animations are really cool. And so there's a lot of little events that I'm like, I want to say this is a top farm, but no, it's just a fun farm. But some of them do lead to some of the things we're going to be talking about today. And so those are my 2 big ones where I'm like, oh, I absolutely love playing through these events, regardless of if they are the best farm to go for immediately. Do you have any honorable mentions at all, Swag?
Yeah, the cinematics in some of those earlier events are just fantastic. I'd also like to do a little bit of an honorable mention for the Thrawn event, because it gets you the Phoenix, which are super fantastic late game with Captain Rex. And also the intro scene is just really nice for those later tiers. I really do like it.
Yeah. Do absolutely love the whole you're fighting in Thrawn's office thing. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah, 100%.
But regardless, our top 5. So our number 5 is actually kind of a weird number 5 because we couldn't necessarily agree on one specific one. But these 4 right here. And so when we're talking about this, we're not talking about one character that you're farming. We're talking about an entire farm that's going to help you out early game. And so that's why these 4 are number 5. It's because all of them are kind of solo farms. They don't really connect with anything. But they're all GL killers. They'll kill a GL. As well as get you just a solid place just in the standings versus Grand Arena. And, if you're going for Inquisitorius, you can fight your way into a really good guild just by saying, hey, I'm farming Inquisitors as my first farm. It's going to be a painful farm, but it's going to be an excellent farm to get yourself a good guild. So, these guys, absolutely beautiful characters, and honestly, rather than saying they're the best farm to go for first, they're excellent PPs. For those of you who don't know what that means, passion projects. They're great passion projects to revitalize your love in the game. Gungans are hilarious. Jar Jar's hilarious. Starkiller makes things go poof, and I love that. Afra, it may not be for everyone, but BT and Trip are hilarious. Like, they do so much, even without Afra. So, definitely some fun PPs in our number 5 slot.
They do absolutely insane damage. B-Team, 000, just all those AoEs coming in. It is really fun to watch and fun to play. And I've had a lot of fun with Grand Inquisitor on my own as well. He's pretty fun in Grand Arena. He's really cool in Territory Wars when you get those Omicrons.
Oh, yeah. I have yet to really use my Grand Inquisitor because I just started getting him for my guild. But I'm hopeful to be able to use him a bit. I'm gonna drop some Omicrons on him. It's painful, but I'll do it. Yeah.
It was painful, but I figured I wasn't having Reva for a little bit, so I may as well get the lead one as well.
Yeah, since my guild's going for Reva, I'm gonna skip out on that one. But regardless, excellent farm for getting into a guild, and the other 2 are just excellent PPs. They'll either, give you a love of the game, farm some, characters that you know and love, things like that, or just have a team that absolutely blasts a Galactic Legend, which is always fun. But going away from just PPs and like good farms just for fun, we're going into our actual like farming paths. And with number 4, number 4 is going to be our Malik rush, basically. And so you're going for Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan into Malik. And so this rush is not hard. It's honestly fairly easy nowadays. They've combined a lot of like the nodes that the characters are on. You know, Jedi Knight Revan, you only need gear 9. It's honestly not a hard farm to get into and to push for. In fact, this was actually my first farm in my account. I was a Revan Rush account when I first started. Not necessarily because I knew what a Revan Rush account was back then, but because I loved Darth Revan. But there are some downsides overall to a Revan Rush account, such as fleets. You really don't get a fleet out of this. You struggle in your fleet shard. You're going to struggle in GAC because you don't have fleets going. Because there's no fleets associated with the Old Republic, except, of course, Leviathan. And Leviathan, I hate to break your guys' heart, but Leviathan is a 3-year farm from day one. And so as much as you might want to get Leviathan, there's some stuff that really gatekeeps new players from getting Leviathan until like 3 years down the road. So unless you're planning on spending money, it might not be the best farm for you.
As nice as Proving Grounds is, it goes really slow with getting the Malgus shards and the
Fury class.
Fury class, yeah.
Yeah. And then number 3 is gas. You want to talk about a bit about gas, Swag?
Absolutely. So Gas builds several good teams right off the bat. It is a little bit longer of a farm, so do be warned there. But you do get a really good start onto some General Grievous droids. You get all of them at pretty decent gear, as well as you can start working really early on and like a really good negotiator fleet, which when you do get Marauder onto the negotiator fleet, it can take down some top tier ships. It can take down Leviathan, it can take down Executor. I don't know exactly how good it is against Profundity, but I assume it does decent.
It does decent. It's not amazing, but it's definitely the lowest win rate of them. But like still having a win rate against a Profundity is still good.
Profundity is really tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also get the Galactic Republic is with your Padme team, and then you can throw the 501st clones in your early farms. They're really easy to get, and they're a pretty solid team. And until you do get gas, you can also throw in Shock T, who is also required. You can throw her in as the lead for those 501st clones early on, and you got a really solid team there until you can eventually replace gas in that farm. And if you haven't already farmed them and you are going for gas, and another good thing that you can do is throw gas as a solo. He is a pretty decent solo unit, but you do want him with the 501st clones when you can get him there. The big thing about putting it number 3 is it gives you 2 good teams. You get a really solid late game character who can counter Malgus and other pretty awful teams. You can also counter Jedi Master Kenobi without Cat. And you also get just a pretty good fleet that you can eventually evolve into one of the best fleets in the game as of current.
Yeah, and like the legendaries that lead up work really, really well in a row because like, you know, you have to have Padme, and you know, to get Padme, you farm up some Geonosians, and all of a sudden you have Watt ready Geos for your guild, which is excellent. And so then you have Watt ready Geos getting you a Padme, and then Padme leads into a Galactic Republic team. You get some 501st allies on the side, and they're an excellent early team as well. And so you start working towards that. On top of that, as you're working towards that Padme, since you're getting Geos, you're getting dark side ships with the dark side, you know, Geonosian ships. So you'll be able to get your Zetas. And so overall, it just kind of perfectly flows as a good farm. It is a little rough starting out though, because it has its problems where it's like, you know, you don't always see everything that you want to see when it comes to like going through a farm where you have like little milestones, because it's a slog. It honestly takes a while to get into this farm. Because like, you know, you have only like 1-2 legendaries that you have to farm up, and so you're like, oh yeah, I got Padme, oh yeah, I got C-3PO, I'm close, right? And it's like, not quite. You still got a ways to go. You got a fleet to go, and it can be rough, and it can be daunting is the problem with the gas farm. But it's an excellent farm.
Not to mention the gas event is just so difficult. It took me several hours on my first time going through it with low gear stuff. It
Yeah.
is a really difficult farm.
I will say, though, something that a lot of people are not willing to do for some reason, and I think it's funny, is you can relic all of these characters for the event and be happy. Padme is a requirement for a GL. GK is a requirement for a GL. Ahsoka is a pilot, and on top of that is part of JMK's team. Shock T is a requirement for a GL. C-3PO is a requirement for multiple GLs. B1 or the Magna Guard and I think it's just the Magna Guard out of these droids.
It's just the Magna Guard.
Asajj Ventress is required for something, I feel like, but I can't remember what. Is it Lord
think
Vader?
She is. I'm checking Lord Vader right now, and I don't see any Asajj.
But Magna Guard is a requirement, plus General Grievous, who you're going to put as the lead of this team after this event, is a requirement. Plus, this team is absolutely banger wherever you use them. So, like, there's a lot of characters in here you can relic with, like, little to no fear of being like, oh, I wasted a relic level, so...
Yeah, they're certainly not wasted characters in any sort of the sense. There's no bad characters that you have to farm for gas.
Absolutely. And going into our number 2, it's going to be Jedi Knight Luke. Not only is this guy just a really fun character, I actually recently got him in the last couple of months, and I've been really entertained by him. He's just hits like a freight train, and I love it. But his farm has a perfect like balance of like you accomplish things as well as you get a lot of good stuff. And so, you know, to get Jedi Knight Luke, it's a little bit of a slog because you need Wampa, you need Hoda, but you're never going to regret having a Wampa in your account. Wampa can solo a ton of teams. Hoda works together with any Jedi and will always be viable, doesn't matter where. In fact, he used to be used as a duo to be able to do SLKR and Hoda, getting through all of the raid in the old raid. And so, like, you're never going to regret having a Hoda. He's a great plug and play. On top of that, you have to get quite a few legendaries. But it's CLS. CLS is still one of the top teams in the game and one of the best early teams that you can get. You know, you have to go for Chewbacca, who fits on that CLS team and builds you bounty hunters, which are super, super nice in a lot of areas of the game. This is what allows you to get credit heist done, allows you to do all kinds of stuff. So, really not a bad farm. And then C-3PO, this one's a little rough because you're getting Ewoks, but you can do this at like gear 11, which is super, super easy to get. And on top of that, you're, you know, finishing a legendary, and you can feel good about the fact that you finished another legendary. And then you're going into Jedi Knight Luke itself, and, like, you know, you need Darth Vader, who's an excellent solo character for those early on players. You know, you got your CLS, who CLS by himself can solo, CLS with a couple guys can trio. Like, you can do a ton with this. And so there's a couple characters that are just so-so, like, you know, you have these tiers that include, like, Lando and Rolo, and they're just mediocre characters at best. But then you're also having to build a fleet, which is the Rebel fleet. And the Rebel fleet, honestly, is a great early on fleet. Dude, Han's Millennium Falcon is so dumb in so many different ways. It's not...
I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's not just hilarious on a Rebel fleet. If you happen to have a Malevolence fleet lying around, you can throw it in the first reinforcement. It'll come in, and then it'll do its little wiggle, and all of a sudden no one can target it. And so it forces the enemy to wipe out every single one of the AIs before it can actually wipe out the fleet. And so It's so incredibly stupid.
And eventually, not to mention, it's got a buff dispel on the basic, which is absolutely insane when it's in a Rebel fleet. And then it's also absolutely fantastic when you get later down and you go for profundity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it leads to so much. Like you get Jedi Knight Luke, all of a sudden you're right next to Leia, you're right next to Jabba, you're right next to JML, and so it's a great farm to ease yourself into a perfect area of the game to get just a ton. You're close to profundity as well. You get JML onto profundity, and all of a sudden you have an absolutely banger account. So it's an excellent farm overall. Going into our number one. Our number one I don't think is going to be surprising, honestly, because it's kind of a overall number one farm for most people, and it's something I continue to encourage in roster reviews whenever I see their accounts, especially those with Lightspeed bundles, and that's the Executor. You
Likewise,
cannot sleep on it.
I suggest it all the time. I'm preaching about the Executor in every single one of my roster reviews. It is just so essential for any early game account. It's just, there's really no other way to describe it than essential.
Absolutely. And there's an interesting thing with it, because like it looks like it's just a fleet and like that's all you're building, but you're getting your foot in the door in a lot of teams, and a lot of them are usable at low gear. You have a Darth Vader that can solo, which is absolutely great. You have an Admiral Piet, so you can build out Imperial Troopers. You could use Gear 7 Imperial Troopers with him, and you just absolutely run circles around the enemy and be able to take out a ton of those teams that you're seeing on defense in Carbonite, Bronzium, Chromium. Boba Fett, Dengar, IG-88 all fall under Bosk. Bosk is going to be someone vitally important for the bounty hunters. He's like the second best lead for bounty hunters. Great for all kinds of counters or for tactical two-shotting, especially if you have Mandalorian, which you will, because you need the Razor Crest for this, which means you're going to have to farm Grief Karga and Mando, two of the best bounty hunters in the game, just to get this done. And so overall, you're not only going to hit the Beskar Mandalorian event, which is personally one of my favorite events I've ever played, you're also going to be able to get a banger bounty hunter team. And then on top of that, you're getting 2 fleets for the price of 1. Because you end up with Executor. Executor's amazing. Executor will give you a crystal income, which means you're in the top of your fleet arena, you're making 400 crystals daily, and that's if you're number 1. But at very least, I would assume you can get between 100 and 400 crystals daily, which is huge. Absolutely massive. But then you're also making a Chimera fleet out of this, which is also absolutely amazing. The Chimera fleet, as you build it, you're getting the basis here. And as you build it farther, it'll counter Executor, Leviathan, Negotiator, Malevolence, Profundity. Like, it counters every single fleet out there with the right lineup. It's insane.
Yeah, not to mention you've got Bosk, who even in your later game Aura Sing lineups is absolutely fantastic as a tank, because he just holds taunt for so long. It makes those bounty hunters able to run, and they do a lot of stuff with Aura Sing. It's honestly a little bit slept on nowadays. It used to be used all the time back when I was in more early game stages, but I feel like it's been a little bit slept on lately.
Yeah, I think people kind of underestimate just how much it can do. The reason I originally built that team was because it can two-shot a JMK, because you take in your bounty hunters with Aura Sing lead, you use Mandalorian to disintegrate Cat, and then all of a sudden the JMK team falls apart without Cat on the team. And so then you just take in like gas, and you're just, oh yeah, it's dead. And
they're wide open for so many different counters.
It's so freaking great. And so, like, yeah, you don't want to sleep on your bounty hunters, especially Mando and Grief. They are so incredibly good. I know Mando is a little bit of Kyrotex, but still absolutely
worth
great.
it.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth it. But yeah, so that
is just such a huge ability.
Yeah, and so not only are you building teams, you're building a fleet, you're building some amazing stuff, but most importantly, you're getting a crystal income out of this that's like guaranteed. Because the thing about when it comes to meta versus off meta, you know, you'll have certain things you can beat with certain things, but when it comes to the meta itself, they typically are a rock paper scissors fight, where if you do the right thing, you can always beat the others. So like each galactic legend, like I can take SLKR in against almost any of the GLs, and if I have the right lineup, I'll be able to take them out. Same kind of thing with each of these. Same with the meta fleets. If I have a Leviathan, I'll be able to take out the other two. If I have Profundity, I'll be able to take out the other two if I know what I'm doing. Executor, same thing. It's going to be a little rougher on the Leviathan, and you might have to up a couple relic levels, but that's fine. You're never going to regret putting extra levels into your Executor. So, amazing farm, amazing crystals. Overall, I think that, you know, regardless of where you go in this game, you can make any farm good. There's no time where you can sit there and be like, oh, this farm isn't going to be great for me. Like, you can go for Jar Jar, and knowing that Boss Nass is great with just a couple Gungans, you can farm Boss Nass first and grab a couple Gungans first. You know, going into this guy right here with gas, you can know, hey, I need to get my clones up first because that's what I have access to in the early game, and they're not a bad team. And then I can add in Shock T, and I have an absolutely banger team. And then, you know, I can get start making a Padme team as I start getting access to the stuff there. And so there's a way to build these smart, and all of them can be absolutely banger farms. I don't think there's a single farm in the game where it's like, this is a dead farm. But these are definitely the top 5 for me. What do you think, Swag?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic top 5, and I'd say farming these later stuff is easier than ever with the introduction of the new raid currency system. It's been absolutely phenomenal for even early game players who can get their hands on really solid rewards from the newer raids with just a couple of mediocre characters, and you can get really great rewards. You can choose your rewards, pick even shards for Wampa and Hermit Yoda. Those have never been easier. It's just really a great time to be in the game.
100%. I 100% agree. And also these farms are not only something that's like you can not have to straight farm a GL and you're going to get great characters for a whole bunch of different events, assault battles, all that kind of stuff, but it also will lead into a lot of GLs. And so you can never really feel bad about chasing legendaries, because like you go for General Knight Luke, all of a sudden the rebels are open for you. You go for gas, all of a sudden Lord Vader and, you know, JMK is open to you. So there's not really a wrong way to do it, but there is a more efficient way, and that's kind of what we're pointing out. Is this isn't so much the most fun farms for you. This is going to be the most efficient way of playing the game by far, is doing it like this. So number 1 is going to be Executor. That crystal income is so vitally important. But I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are when it comes to the farms here. Like, obviously, we didn't want to bring in any, like, Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3, really, as our main farms, because, like, Palpatine you can get in, like, the first 10 days that you play the game. Okay, not that early, but pretty dang quickly. Same with Yoda. We didn't want to do anything like that. So we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you should rush first. What are some of the best farms when it comes to legendaries? What are some of your favorite farms? You know, tell us what your peepees are. We always love to hear about other people's peepees. And if you guys want to check out Swag Frog's channel, his link will be in the description of this video. He's an awesome guy. Go check it out and show him some damn support. But yeah, I hope this guide, or not so much guide, just this top 5 helps you guys so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Say goodbye, Swag. Say
Adios. Remember to have fun. See ya.
No, I refuse to have fun. But you better. Anyways, have a great day.